All right, I'm in Columbus, Ohio at the Janis Junction Railroad at the Janis
Center Railroad Club.
Center Railroad Club. I'm
Yes.
with Dan Weatherby.
It's part of the Martin Janis Center,
And-
located on the Ohio State Fairgrounds.
Okay. What are we looking at? Is this modeled after any particular town?
No, these are all fictional towns. So they're not. There are a couple buildings on the layout, or I know of at least one that's actually modeled after an actual building, but it's all fictional. You know, there isn't anything that would really match up with anything in reality.
All right, let's stroll this way and take a look at what we're looking at here.
But it's a permanent layout built in the 80s, early 80s. Would be a safe thing to say. Built to do pretty extensive operating sessions. We have 3 tracks, 3 main lines.
Yeah.
On the red, the blue, and the green.
Yeah.
How many miles of operating tracks did you say we have?
I don't know. If you look on the one box in there, I think it might say approximately an hour. They're going to do pull-out box. So if there's something in
That's a great looking,
y'all let me not run these locomotives while
wow.
you're doing the interview?
This roundhouse is just beautiful. Take a look at this thing.
Yeah.
Look at the detail on this.
Are you aware that this
Wow.
is not the original?
No, I'm not.
Okay, this is not the original layout.
Absolutely
The original
beautiful.
layout started over in the corner of the room.
So I guess I'm being told that by one of our members, this is actually not the original layout that for the club.
Yeah.
The original layout was started over in the other corner of the basement here in the Martin Janis Center.
Okay.
And then sometime in the 80s, it was they migrated over here to this one and rebuilt into what this layout is today.
Okay, let's take a quick look over here. Wow, that's beautiful.
The blue and the green lines of the railroad are 4.7 scale miles. I don't know how much track that equates to in real terms.
How do you guys make your rock?
Some of this is plaster cloth over chicken wire. Some of it is foam. There's a whole lot of different techniques used throughout the entire layout. Some of it's just hard plaster that's been chipped away and sanded and whatnot.
Well, it's a great job. It's realistic.
Yeah, so there's a variety of modeling techniques on the layout.
Oh, that's a great trestle bridge too. Wow.
And there's a good majority of stuff that's scratch built as well. This being one of them. There's I'll have to find it. You can go back over there. There's a whole building. There's several buildings actually over there that are kit bashed as well as scratch built.
Okay.
A good majority of the stuff from our senior committee. Some of the guys have done a really good job of kit bashing things to create like this neighborhood.
Yeah.
To get it to what it is today.
Is there a time frame for the entire?
Just recently, the senior committee just started shifting everything over to a late 50s era.
Okay.
So they've been like slowly going through and removing cars. Like these cars, they haven't removed yet because this one's hardwired in, as you can see.
Yeah, it's a great looking little tab.
But because this is a 1930s German train station.
Yeah, that's really neat.
That actually got bombed during World War II.
So that really existed.
Yes, this is an actual building over in Germany. This train station right here.
The rest of it, though, I mean, does it have a southeastern Ohio look to it, or did anybody have anything in their mind's eye?
Not that I know of. I mean, obviously, the one thing we were trying to accomplish when it was originally designed, from my understanding, is that they wanted something that had a lot of operating benefits to it, so that when they do an operating session, that there's a lot that can be done at the same time. Because, as we say, some of the best operating sessions we've had on this layout is where we go from that far corner way over there past Oscar, there's an actual little farm up there, and we'll switch cattle from that farm all the way over to this yard over here, and into this little town right over there where you have that cattle yard over there. But in order to get there, you have to go from the red line, the green line, to the blue line, and then into the yards. So it's an interesting, it really creates for a really interesting operating session, and that was really, I think, just by judging the way it's laid out and the design that it has, it really lends itself to some really creative and interesting operating sessions.
So how do you, by committee, how do you decide what comes next?
Well, depending on what it is, like if it's scenery, we have different committees that have different parts of the layout. We have a scenery committee. Obviously, they're pretty active.
Yeah.
We have an electronics committee that handle the things, the electronic parts of the layout that make the thing move. For example, like right now, we're in the process of for the past year and a half or so, or 2 years, we've been researching what's called DCC, or Digital Command Control, and seeing how it can be integrated into this layout, because this layout was built with analog technology. So we're interested in converting it over, so that's what we've been researching for the past 2 years, and trying out different systems and testing the different lines and seeing how things work. So that's now at a point where we're going to bring it to a vote, and then we make a vote on it, and then if it passes, the club will eventually purchase the system and we'll install it. So that's kind of an example of how things continue and how progress happens on this layout.
What about the trees? You got all kinds of trees here. Are they handmade or?
Some of them are. Some of them I do believe are bought, but most of them are handmade. Yeah.
Now let's take one last look this direction here, because that's a great roundhouse. Wow, that is.
And it does operate too.
Is that scratch built?
I don't know. It looks like it was actually kit bashed, because there are parts of it that clearly have come from a roundhouse kit, but there are parts of it, like this upper piece up in here, that is made with balsa wood.
And I love this detail right here. That's great.
And the engine shop yard complete with our welding rivets onto the boiler of an old steam engine, which is just controlled by a light connected to, I do believe, a radio that's tuned into static. And then all this button here just turns it on and off.
That's great.
And this is our proverbial, what we call the rip track. It's basically where whenever there's a car that the club finds and needs to be repaired, we'll move it over here on. This actually constitutes a real, it looks like a real rip track, but we use it as a rip track. So if club members want something to do, they can pull a car off here and see what's wrong with it and fix it and repair it. And make sure it's up to gauge, and then put it back on the layout to be used. And then it would go over to the east or west yard over there. So this whole yard area is reminiscent of an actual steam yard, because you had your hump, you had your area where you could pull steam engines, and obviously the shop area, the roundhouse area, and over there is where we have our east and west classification yard. We completely cross over from one yard to the other. And all of these are controlled by these sets of electronic switches. We can control this side, that side, as well as these switches in here, so that we can divide traffic in various parts of the layout. So everything in here mechanically, from a switching standpoint, works and is powered. And as I said, this is a nice farming community where, during an operating session, as I said, we would move cattle from over on the other side of the layout on the red line over to this side of the layout, which this connects to the blue line. But this whole thing, because a lot of the buildings, that we have on this layout, were given to us by donation. So, we'll get stuff from people who donate, people who pass away, or people who are just getting out of the hobby. So we started collecting different things, and we figured, you know, it'd be nice to have, you know,
Right.
pairing of two things. So we have two farming communities, two coaling yards, an oil refinery, tile making company, you know,
Great
making your own
layout.
couple.
A really great layout. You guys have done a great job here.
And it does have a slight grade to it. This specific area right here rises up, and it's a 2.5% grade going up this hill right here where these girder bridges are, and then I believe there's 1.5 going down.
Okay. All right.
But the peak of it is really right around here. The peak of the grade peaks right in here, and then starts to go back down or up, depending on which direction you're going.
All right, Dan, thank you so much for this look. It's beautiful. It really is.
It's a fun layout to run on.
Oh,
I mean,
I'll bet.
it is. When we do operating sessions, it is a joy and a lot of fun to do.